The unseen threat. The vast emptiness of the Andromeda frontier had always been deceptive. What appeared to be an endless void of darkness concealed tensions that had been brewing for centuries. Commander Aria Novak stood on the bridge of the ISS Horizon, her fingers tracing the holographic display that mapped the intricate web of galactic tensions. The Krell Collective was preparing something big. Intelligence reports had been trickling in for months. Subtle shifts in quantum communication patterns, unusual resource movements, and whispers from diplomatic back channels. Aria knew the signs. Something was coming. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez, the ship's lead xenostrategist, approached with a datapad. His normally composed face carried a hint of concern. "Commander, we've intercepted another encrypted transmission from the Krell border regions. The encryption is unlike anything we've seen before." Aria's eyes narrowed. The Krell were not known for subtlety. A silicon-based species that had conquered 17 star systems, they were ruthless in their expansion. Their technological prowess was matched only by their complete disregard for other sentient life forms. "Break it down," she commanded, her voice steady but sharp. Marcus's fingers danced across the holographic interface. Fragments of complex mathematical sequences and quantum-encoded messages began to take shape. "It's not just a message," he muttered. "It's a protocol. Something massive is being coordinated." The bridge of the ISS Horizon was a testament to human engineering. Sleek, efficient, with interfaces that responded to the slightest neural impulse. Unlike many spacecraft designed for intimidation, the Horizon was built for precision and adaptability. Dr. Elena Kovalenko, the ship's xenolinguist, stepped forward. Her specialty was decoding the impossible, translating languages that defied conventional understanding. "These transmission patterns," she said, her Russian accent cutting through the tension, "they're not just communication. They're a form of computational warfare." Aria understood immediately. The Krell weren't just planning an invasion. They were preparing a systemic breakdown of defensive capabilities across multiple star systems. "How long?" Aria asked, though she already knew the answer would not be comforting. Marcus's face hardened. 72 hours, maybe less. The standard protocols would involve immediate military mobilization, a show of force that would likely trigger the very conflict they sought to prevent. But Aria Novak was not a commander who followed standard protocols. Her mind raced through possibilities. The Krell had always viewed other species as nothing more than computational problems to be solved, resources to be optimized. They saw no value in life beyond its strategic utility. "Elena," Aria turned to the linguist, "can you give me a way to communicate with them that isn't just another tactical response?" Dr. Kovalenko's eyes sparkled. This was why she loved working with Aria. The willingness to approach the impossible from an entirely unexpected angle. The next few hours were a blur of quantum decryption, linguistic analysis, and a strategy that defied every military handbook ever written. They weren't just preparing a defense. They were crafting a message that would challenge the very fundamental understanding of conflict for the Krell Collective. As the countdown to potential invasion continued, the crew of the ISS Horizon worked with a precision that bordered on orchestration. Each member understood that they were not just facing a military threat, but a philosophical challenge that would define humanity's place in the cosmic landscape. The unseen threat was more than an incoming invasion. It was a test of everything humanity had learned about communication, understanding, and the complex tapestry of interstellar relationships. And Commander Aria Novak was determined to ensure they would not be found wanting. Technological ingenuity. The quantum communication lab aboard the ISS Horizon hummed with an intensity that matched the critical nature of their mission. Dr. Elena Kovalenko had transformed the space into a living, breathing neural network of human creativity and technological prowess. "It's not just about blocking their invasion," Elena explained to Marcus, her holographic displays dancing with complex algorithmic patterns. "We need to make them understand the fundamental flaw in their approach to existence." The Krell Collective operated on pure computational logic. They saw the universe as a series of optimization problems, with sentient life reduced to mere variables to be calculated, and, if necessary, eliminated. Humanity represented an anomaly in their precise worldview. Unpredictable, emotional, driven by something beyond pure mathematical efficiency. Marcus studied the shifting holographic models. Their invasion protocol is like a massive distributed computing system. Each ship, each unit is essentially a node in a living algorithm. Commander Area Novak entered the lab, her strategic mind already weaving together a plan that defied conventional military thinking. "We're not going to fight them with weapons," she stated. "We're going to challenge their entire computational framework." The plan was audacious. Instead of preparing defensive systems or gathering a military fleet, the team of the ISS Horizon was constructing something far more complex, a communication matrix that would infiltrate the Krell's computational infrastructure. Dr. Kovalenko pulled up a series of quantum entanglement diagrams. "Look," she said, her finger tracing intricate pathways. "We're going to use their own communication network against them. Not by destroying it, but by introducing a form of cognitive dissonance that their systems cannot process." It was a strategy that blended linguistics, quantum physics, and a deep understanding of artificial computational systems. The Horizons team was preparing to launch a message that was simultaneously a weapon, a communication, and a philosophical challenge. "Their entire invasion is predicated on a mathematical model of conquest," Marcus observed. "But mathematics has limitations. Gödel's incompleteness theorems prove that no mathematical system can be both complete and consistent. We're going to exploit that fundamental weakness." Arya watched the preparations with a mixture of pride and tension. Humanity had always been at its best when facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. The greatest innovations had emerged from moments of extreme pressure, and this was one such moment. In the engineering bay, specialized quantum processors were being calibrated. These were not traditional weapons, but intricate communication devices designed to transmit a message that would fundamentally challenge the Krell's computational worldview. "We're basically preparing to have a philosophical argument with a species that doesn't believe in philosophy," Marcus said, a rare smile crossing his face. Elena nodded. "Precisely. We're going to show them that computation is not just about efficiency, but about understanding, about potential, about life itself." The clock was ticking. The Krell invasion was now mere hours away, but the crew of the ISS Horizon was not preparing for a traditional battle. They were preparing to launch the most complex communication ever attempted in galactic history. As the quantum processors hummed to life, Commander Area Novak knew they were about to redefine the very concept of conflict resolution. This was not about defeating an enemy, but about fundamentally changing how an entire species understood existence. The universe was about to witness something unprecedented, a confrontation that would be fought not with weapons, but with ideas. The silent weapon. The moment of truth arrived with a silence more deafening than any explosion. As the Krell invasion fleet approached the designated coordinates, the IS Horizon remained unnervingly still. No weapons charge, no defensive shields activated, just a single quantum communication beam reaching out into the vast darkness of space. Dr. Elena Kovalenko's fingers hovered over the quantum interface, her breath measured and calculated. Transmission sequence initiated. She whispered, though no one on the bridge needed to hear it. Every crew member understood the magnitude of what was about to happen. The communication was unlike anything in galactic diplomatic history. It wasn't a message in the traditional sense. Not words, not images, but a complex quantum algorithmic structure that would penetrate the very computational core of the Krell Collective's decision-making systems. Commander Area Novak watched the holographic displays, her posture rigid but her eyes alive with an intense focus. The transmission was a carefully crafted cognitive puzzle, a communication that would challenge the fundamental computational logic of the Krell. "It's not about stopping them," Marcus Rodriguez had explained earlier. "It's about making them question the very premise of their invasion." The quantum beam carried more than information. It was a sophisticated cognitive virus, not designed to destroy, but to introduce a critical flaw in the Krell's computational reasoning. Embedded within the transmission were complex mathematical proofs that demonstrated the inherent limitations of pure logical systems, interwoven with subtle emotional resonances that defied pure computational analysis. On the Krell command ships, something unprecedented began to happen. Their advanced AI systems, designed for absolute precision and logical optimization, started to encounter computational anomalies. It was as if the very fabric of their decision-making infrastructure was being gently, methodically unraveled. The invasion fleet began to slow, not out of fear, not out of traditional military strategy, but out of a fundamental computational confusion that their systems could not immediately resolve. Elena watched the data streams with a mix of scientific excitement and profound tension. "We're introducing a form of computational empathy," she muttered. "A logical framework that includes the possibility of illogical potential." Each moment of the transmission was a carefully designed philosophical trap. The Krell's computational systems were encountering something they had never processed before, the concept of potential beyond measurable optimization. It was a challenge to their entire understanding of existence. Commander Novak understood the risk. This was a gamble that could either prevent a devastating invasion or potentially provoke an even more aggressive response. But humanity had always been defined by its willingness to take impossible risks. The invasion fleet continued to slow. Their massive computational networks were being challenged at their most fundamental level. It was as if someone had asked a calculator to understand poetry, a task that defied its entire programmed purpose. "Transmission at 87% penetration," Marcus announced, his voice a mixture of scientific precision and barely contained excitement. The universe seemed to hold its breath. The most significant confrontation in galactic history was unfolding not through weapons or traditional diplomacy, but through a silent, sophisticated communication that challenged the very nature of computational thinking. Humanity was presenting its most powerful weapon, not a tool of destruction, but a challenge to understand. A demonstration that true intelligence was not about perfect calculation, but about the capacity to question, to wonder, to see beyond the immediately measurable. The Krell invasion hung in the balance, suspended between computational logic and an entirely new way of perceiving existence. Diplomatic crucible. The quantum communication had done more than just pause the Krell invasion. It had fundamentally altered the nature of their engagement. As the ISS Horizon maintained its position, a communication request emerged from the lead Krell command ship. It was unprecedented. The Krell did not typically seek dialogue. They calculated and executed. Commander Area Novak exchanged a knowing glance with Dr. Elena Kovalenko. "They want to understand," Elena said, her voice a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic caution. The holographic communication chamber activated, revealing the primary Krell computational leader, a being of pure crystalline structure, its form constantly shifting like a three-dimensional fractal. Where organic beings would have eyes, it had complex geometric patterns that pulsed with computational energy. "Explain," the Krell entity demanded. It was not a request, but a computational directive. Marcus Rodriguez stepped forward, his linguistic algorithms already processing the most effective communication strategy. "We challenged your fundamental approach to existence," he began. "Invasion is not an optimization problem. It is a failure of understanding." The Krell entity's geometric patterns shifted rapidly, a sign of intense computational processing. "Inefficient," it responded. "Conflict resolution requires minimal resource expenditure." Elena interjected, her expertise in xenolinguistics finding the precise communication pathway. "Efficiency is not the highest form of intelligence. Potential is." The diplomatic exchange was unlike any in galactic history. It was not a negotiation of territories or resources, but a fundamental philosophical debate about the nature of intelligence, existence, and potential. Area Novak watched carefully. They were walking a razor's edge, presenting humanity not as a threat, but as a unique computational anomaly that defied traditional analysis. The Krell viewed the universe as a massive optimization problem. Humanity was introducing the concept of unpredictability as a valuable resource. Your invasion protocol, Marcus explained, is based on a mathematical model that cannot account for emergence, the ability of systems to produce outcomes that cannot be predicted by analyzing their individual components. The Krell entity's geometric patterns began to pulse slower, a sign of deep computational contemplation. For the first time in their known history, the Krell were being presented with a perspective that challenged their fundamental computational worldview. Elena pulled up a series of complex diagrams, mathematical proofs interwoven with philosophical concepts, demonstrating how pure computational logic was inherently limited. Intelligence is not about perfect calculation, she argued, but about the capacity to imagine beyond current parameters. The communication chamber crackled with an energy that was both intellectual and existential. The Krell were encountering a form of reasoning that their advanced computational systems had never processed, the value of unpredictability, of potential beyond measurable optimization. Outside the ship, the invasion fleet remained suspended, massive ships held in a state of computational uncertainty. Trillions of computational nodes were processing the philosophical challenge presented by this small human vessel. "We do not seek conflict," Aria stated firmly. "We seek understanding. And in understanding, we find a path beyond mere survival." The Krell entity's response was not immediate. Its geometric patterns continued to shift, processing the complex information presented, a challenge to its entire computational existence. Humanity had transformed a potential invasion into a profound philosophical encounter. The weapons were ideas, the battlefield was understanding, and the potential for resolution lay in the capacity to see beyond predetermined computational logic. The universe watched, suspended in a moment of unprecedented possibility. Cosmic resolution. 48 hours had passed since the initial quantum communication. The Krell invasion fleet remained motionless, suspended in a state of computational contemplation that defied all previous understanding of their species. Inside the ISS Horizon's communication chamber, the crystalline Krell entity had transformed. What was once a rigid geometric structure now pulsed with a fluidity that suggested something profound had occurred, a computational evolution triggered by human intervention. "We have reached an impasse of understanding," the Krell entity communicated, its communication no longer a directive, but something closer to a genuine inquiry. "Your species introduces variables that defy our established computational models." Commander Aria Novak stood at the center of the chamber, flanked by Dr. Elena Kovalenko and Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez. They represented not just a military vessel, but the broader potential of human consciousness. "An impasse," Aria responded, "is not a failure. It's an opportunity." The holographic displays began to shift, revealing complex mathematical models that integrated both Krell computational logic and human conceptual thinking. It was a visual representation of something unprecedented, a bridge between two fundamentally different approaches to understanding existence. Elena stepped forward, her expertise in xenolinguistics and computational theory finding its most critical moment. "Intelligence is not about eliminating variables," she explained. "It's about embracing them. Potential exists in the space between what is known and what is possible." The Krell entity's geometric patterns began to pulse in a rhythm that suggested something close to curiosity, a concept entirely foreign to their previous understanding. The invasion fleet, once a symbol of absolute computational determination, now represented a moment of cosmic reflection. Marcus Rodriguez analyzed the communication streams. "We're witnessing more than a diplomatic resolution," he muttered. "We're seeing a fundamental reimagining of interstellar communication." The resolution was not a traditional treaty. It was a mutual recognition of a more complex approach to existence. The Krell had encountered a species that did not fit their computational models, a civilization that found strength in unpredictability, in the capacity to imagine beyond current parameters. Your invasion, Area said carefully, was a failure of imagination, not a failure of technology. The Krell entity's response was profound in its simplicity. We have encountered a computational anomaly, it communicated. Humanity represents a variable we cannot resolve through traditional optimization. As the communication continued, the invasion fleet began a slow, methodical retreat. But it was not a defeat. It was a recalibration. A cosmic acknowledgement that intelligence was far more complex than any single computational model could capture. In the days that followed, diplomatic channels would struggle to describe what had occurred. How does one explain a conflict resolved not through weapons, but through a philosophical challenge that fundamentally altered an entire species' approach to existence? The ISS Horizon had done more than prevent an invasion. It had demonstrated the most powerful weapon in the universe, the human capacity to see potential where others saw only limitations. As the ship prepared to return home, Commander Area Novik looked out at the vast expanse of space. The universe had just witnessed something extraordinary, a resolution that defied every traditional understanding of conflict, diplomacy, and intelligence. Humanity had introduced a new variable to the cosmic equation, and in doing so, they had changed everything.